For many years, Barron Trump remained a quiet figure in the background of one of America's most watched families. While his siblings learned to navigate the spotlight and live under constant public attention, Barron chose a path of quiet distance, almost unshakable in his silence, far removed from the curiosity of the outside world. At first, many assumed he was simply a reserved young man, whether by personality or by disinterest in the political and media whirlwind surrounding his family. But recently, surprising details shared by Elon Musk caused people to rethink that, to understand those revelations, it's worth going back to Barron himself. Barron William Trump was born on March 20th, 2006, in New York City, the only child of Donald and Melania Trump. His childhood was anything but ordinary, spent inside the gilded halls of Trump Tower, a symbol of wealth and power. Yet within that world, Barron carved out a quiet corner for himself. He attended elite private schools, first Columbia Grammar and Preparatory School in Manhattan, and later St. Andrew's Episcopal School while living in the White House. These choices reflected not only educational quality, but also Melania Trump's determined effort to give her son a private, as normal as possible upbringing in extraordinary circumstances. After the family's move to Florida, Barron enrolled at Oxbridge Academy, a private institution known for cultivating leaders and forward thinkers. Throughout this journey, Barron chose a markedly different path than his siblings, staying discreet, reserved, and almost invisible amidst the constant media storm. Melania served as his protector, standing firm to safeguard his peace. She insisted that his focus remain on school, sports, and cultural growth. As a result, Barron grew into a multilingual young man, fluent in English, Slovenian, and French, a reflection of his mother's European heritage and a borderless education. Teachers and those close to the Trump family describe Barron as disciplined, reserved, and surprisingly sharp. He has a deep interest in technology, sports, and hands-on learning, traits that reveal him to be more of an observer than an active participant. Unlike his family's clear political focus, Barron has avoided being swept into that world, choosing instead a quieter, more thoughtful path of his own. Standing at over 2 meters tall, his height makes him impossible to miss anywhere he goes. Yet what truly sets him apart is not his stature, but his calm presence, his ability to command attention through silence and composure. Within the family, he is not just the youngest, but also a uniquely protected figure. Donald Trump has often spoken of his son with a blend of pride and protectiveness. He praises Barron as highly intelligent, noting his talent for grasping complex ideas with little explanation. Though he sometimes jokes about Barron being a huge kid, beneath the humor lies a father's quiet admiration for a son whose sharpness doesn't require noise to be noticed. Unlike his siblings, who were pushed early into business and media, Barron has been allowed to grow at his own pace, in his own way. Trump himself seems to respect this choice. Melania, on the other hand, has called Barron her miracle, a phrase that reflects not only tenderness, but also her fierce determination to shield him. Even during her demanding years as First Lady under the harsh public spotlight, she held firmly to one principle: Barron would not sacrifice his childhood for politics or publicity. Those who know him describe him as attentive, sensitive, and strong-willed. He speaks rarely, but when he does, his words carry weight, often commanding full attention. Some close to the family even remark on his instinct for strategy, an almost natural ability to read people. His insight has surprised not only his parents, but even seasoned advisors within Trump's circle who quietly acknowledged his perceptiveness. There is something about Barron, still not fully revealed, that suggests he may one day carve out a role uniquely his own. While his siblings made headlines and appeared at press conferences, Barron preferred to remain the quiet observer, listening, analyzing, learning. Many believe he is quietly preparing himself not for a predefined role, but for something deeper, something singular. And it was in this silence that one of the most visionary businessmen of our time noticed what others had overlooked. That man was Elon Musk. It all began one evening, a night that would later be remembered as a turning point. When Donald Trump reaffirmed his return to the political arena, it was Barron Trump who, both in presence and in symbolism, stood out above everyone else inside Republican campaign headquarters. Towering at over 2 meters, Barron's presence wasn't defined by height alone. There was something else, a stillness that wasn't shyness, but rather the composure of someone who understands the power of keeping distance in order to observe. A quiet strategist. And Elon Musk, known for spotting what others overlook, seemed to recognize it immediately. Musk rarely comments on individuals outside the worlds of technology and science, where his influence is unrivaled. Yet, in a rare departure from that rule, he broke his silence. His unexpected remarks about Barron Trump stunned many. Not because of what was said, but because they recast the image of a young man long seen as silent and detached into something entirely different. The story began at what seemed like an ordinary moment, the traditional Thanksgiving dinner at Mar-a-Lago, usually a warm, predictable family event. But this time something subtle sparked a wave of speculation across social media. Barron Trump and Elon Musk were seen sitting side by side deep in conversation, serious, focused, completely absorbed in their exchange, oblivious to the festive chatter around them. Within hours, the images spread at lightning speed. A global tech icon and a young man who had lived far from the media spotlight, locked in a discussion so intent it looked as if the outside world didn't exist. No one knew what they were talking about, but questions erupted instantly. Were they secretly sketching out a new political strategy? Collaborating on some undisclosed tech venture? Or was it nothing more than chance seating at the same dinner table? The less certain the truth seemed, the wilder the theories grew. True to form, Musk didn't leave the public waiting long. He did speak out, but not to clarify, rather to deepen the mystery. Musk dismissed any political undertones to the conversation, but in doing so, he opened a different window into Barron's mind. According to Musk, Barron possesses a maturity far beyond his years, even by the lofty standards of someone who has worked with world-class scientists and technological visionaries. What struck Musk most was Barron's sharpness. He doesn't ask simple questions or recycle tired ideas. Instead, he challenges, debates, proposes original theories, and pushes conversations into uncharted territory. Musk explained that Barron's brilliance isn't just academic. It's a blend of curiosity and depth, the kind of mix that makes any exchange with him a true intellectual experience. Musk revealed that Barron showed strong interest in artificial intelligence, digital governance, technology-driven education, and especially the intersection between cutting-edge tech and climate solutions. It wasn't the shallow curiosity of youth, but the kind of focused intensity that comes from deep reflection. Even as a child, Barron was fascinated with taking things apart and putting them back together, not out of mischief, but to truly understand how they worked. Musk believes that instinct, the drive to find order in chaos, is the seed that fuels great innovators. But beyond intellect, what impressed him most was Barron's silence. Not a silence born of shyness, but of presence. He's the kind of person who doesn't need noise to be noticed. Someone who speaks rarely, yet commands attention when he does. Someone unmoved by the spotlight, preferring the vantage point of the observer, where the view is broader and deeper. His fluency in English, Slovenian, and French further widens his perspective. Musk argued that Barron's early exposure to different cultures, languages, and political landscapes shaped a global mindset, one that rises above borders and ideology. Growing up amid weighty decisions, powerful figures, and high-level conversations, Barron seems to have learned a crucial truth. Intelligence isn't about speaking quickly, it's about listening deeply and absorbing. For Musk, Barron's emotional intelligence is exceptionally rare, especially at his age in a world dominated by noise. And when Elon Musk, a man notorious for his impossibly high standards and his reluctance to praise, openly admires a young man not yet fully in the public eye, the world takes notice. He was no longer just the quiet son of the former president. He had become the sharp observer, the silent learner, preparing for something still undefined. Not through grand gestures, but through steady, deliberate accumulation, like a slow, unstoppable current running beneath the surface. And soon, subtle but undeniable signs began to emerge from within Donald Trump's campaign. The growing wave of support among younger voters no longer looked like coincidence. Strategists started connecting the dots, and many became convinced that behind the shift was Barron's quiet influence. Reports suggested it was Barron who encouraged his father to abandon outdated campaign tactics. Gone were the old posters and tired, recycled speeches. In their place, Barron pushed for a new approach, one that reached young people where they truly live, on digital platforms. He urged his father to appear on podcasts like Joe Rogan's, spaces where long, unfiltered conversations create genuine connections. Not shallow ads, but real discussions where people actually listen. At first, the campaign team was hesitant. Some dismissed the idea as risky, unnecessary, a bold suggestion from someone who, in their eyes, didn't even appear on the political strategy map. But the results soon silenced every doubt. Trump's ability to connect with younger voters, once thought unreachable, began to rise sharply. His unscripted appearances, raw interactions, and authentic reactions resonated deeply. And behind it all, there was the imprint of the young man many had long written off as simply the quiet one, Barron Trump. According to insiders like Laura Trump, Barron's political instincts weren't born out of luck or sudden inspiration. They were shaped carefully over time, through a quiet but clear progression that began during his school years. Even then, Barron surprised adults, pointing out which events were truly essential, what themes should be highlighted in speeches, and even boldly critiquing the strategies of seasoned political advisors. He wasn't naive, nor impulsive. His ideas carried a forward-looking weight. They didn't cling to outdated rules, nor did they emerge from youthful rebellion. Instead, they were glimpses of someone who senses the currents of change before they take shape. He quietly grew into an unofficial strategist, closely tracking the shifting tides of social media, where collective emotions and changes in public thinking reveal themselves most honestly. From there, Barron began advising on how to reach the hearts of a new generation, young people weary of empty promises. Once overlooked, Barron started to gain recognition far beyond his family circle. Even outside voices from neutral or even opposing camps began to speak of him. John Morgan, a prominent attorney with strong ties to the Democratic Party, drew attention when he openly declared that at just 18 years old, Barron Trump possessed a sharper and deeper political vision than many of the advisors working with Kamala Harris. Morgan didn't hesitate to highlight Barron's influence in reshaping Donald Trump's image, from that of a divisive figure to one who was beginning to regain the trust of younger voters. That transformation, he argued, began when Trump stepped onto unconventional platforms where conversations were raw, unedited, and real. In an era where authenticity can mean survival and adaptation is a necessity, Barron has become a silent yet effective force. And so, at Thanksgiving night in Mar-a-Lago, the spark was lit. Amid warm greetings, bright lights, and carefully polished speeches, one image went viral. Elon Musk and Barron Trump, two men from different generations and worlds, locked in an intense exchange that clearly didn't belong to a holiday gathering. No one needed to know the exact words. The focused expressions, the body language, the sheer gravity of their concentration were enough to fuel the collective imagination. Speculation erupted. Were they plotting a political conspiracy? The early stages of a futuristic startup? But when Musk finally spoke, the narrative shifted into something even more profound than any theory. Musk revealed that their conversation was anything but casual and far from coincidence. It was a dialogue between two minds exploring subjects much of the world isn't yet ready to confront: the future of humanity, the ethics of artificial intelligence, education in the digital age, and technology's vital role in addressing the climate crisis. According to Musk, Barron displayed a rare depth of awareness, not only questioning the foundations of AI governance, but also proposing ways technology could serve educational equity, such as creating virtual tutors designed with ethical frameworks that honor cultural diversity and individual learning needs. Musk recalled a striking moment when Barron suggested integrating satellite networks like Starlink with real-time environmental sensor systems. His idea was to create a global response network, capable of monitoring, assessing, and reacting instantly to climate threats, even in the most remote corners of the planet. For an 18-year-old to present a technically viable model with such a comprehensive vision was enough to capture the genuine attention of Elon Musk, a man rarely impressed. But Barron's insight went beyond technical proposals. He spoke of building decentralized platforms, safeguarding free expression, and designing digital tools guided by ethics, not to manipulate users, but to respect their intelligence. That evening's conversation stretched on for hours, leaving Musk deeply moved. He later described Barron as calm, thoughtful, and confident, a young thinker whose ideas weren't dressed in exaggeration, but conveyed with clarity and quiet conviction. What had begun as a simple encounter transformed into a turning point, personally and politically. From that night on, Musk and Barron began forming the bond of mentor and young intellectual. Elon's mother, May Musk, would later share that the two spent the entire evening diving into ethical questions surrounding artificial intelligence and the role of innovation in combating climate change. From those exchanges grew a relationship without fanfare, but with significant influence. Since then, Musk has become a familiar presence within Donald Trump's inner circle. The tensions of the past, when Musk had openly criticized Trump and dismissed his record on electric vehicles, seemed to dissolve like old grudges fading with time. In their place emerged a new chapter marked by mutual respect, understanding, and a shared vision: to build a smarter, more advanced, and more humane America through technology. Just days after that Thanksgiving meeting, Musk posted an unexpected photo: Donald Trump with his hand resting on Musk's shoulder, captioned with only a few simple words: "If Barron approves it, count me in." Whether it was meant as a joke or a deliberate hint, that single remark sent shockwaves through observers. It revealed just how quietly influential Barron Trump had become. He was subtly reshaping alliances at the very top. It wasn't long before Elon Musk was officially appointed as head of the newly created Department of Government Efficiency, a branch within Trump's administration tasked with modernizing public services through data and technology. For Musk, it wasn't simply a promotion. It was a reinvention. The once tech world maverick had now stepped inside the system. Yet this shift wasn't driven by a hunger for power, but by something far more unexpected: the spark lit by an unassuming, profound young man named Barron. Meanwhile, Barron continued his own path in silence. In September 2024, he enrolled at New York University, a choice rooted in independence and self-determination. He turned away from the prestige of Harvard, Yale, and other glittering Ivy League names. While many assumed he would retreat from politics or escape his father's looming shadow, Barron chose to remain in New York, a city loud, complex, sometimes brutal, yet filled with the memories of his earliest years. At NYU, his worldview began to broaden. New friendships, intellectual debate circles, and challenging academic projects became the ground on which he continued to shape himself, always quietly, always with the same reflective intensity that had once caught Elon Musk off guard. His classmates described him as deeply introspective, someone who always listened before speaking. And when he finally did, the room fell silent. Not because he demanded it, but because his words carried a natural weight, free of arrogance, yet magnetic in their certainty. The Trump name, with its controversies, victories, and disputed legacy, remains tied to Barron. But the identity he is crafting goes far beyond it. Not in rejection of his heritage, but in building something new, a persona that is independent, rational, calm, and questioning rather than dogmatic. He chooses to think through his own experiences and observations, rather than recycle inherited ideologies under the unforgiving glare of fame that comes with being a Trump. Barron is carving out a path that begins not with legacy, but with thought, with ideas, with vision, with the courage to ask the hardest questions. That story is only just beginning. But if Elon Musk's revelations hold even a grain of truth, then Barron Trump's future may transcend the old molds of politics and business. His legacy could become something entirely different, one born not of tradition, but of vision and inner strength. Maybe Barron will emerge as a pioneer in technology, someone capable of redefining how humans interact with the digital world and with one another. Perhaps he'll become a thinker with the vision to reshape the foundations of global education, where artificial intelligence doesn't replace teachers, but instead serves as an ethical and cultural companion, guiding students through a personalized journey of learning. Or maybe Barron will evolve into a new kind of symbol for a generation craving different voices, not loud, not extreme, but clear, compassionate, and unafraid to confront the questions that still have no answers. We don't know yet. Time will write the rest of his story. But one thing is already certain. Barron Trump is no longer the quiet boy seen in old family photographs. He is preparing for something far greater, something the world hasn't yet imagined. And maybe now is the moment to start listening to him, not for his last name, but for who he truly is. So what do you think of Barron Trump? Do you believe he really is the quiet force reshaping how the world views the Trump legacy? Could the path he has chosen, balancing the weight of heritage with the drive to carve out his own destiny, take him to a place no one could have predicted? Share your thoughts in the comments. I always value hearing diverse perspectives, whether skeptical, empathetic, or simply instinctive impressions. If you found meaning in this deeper look into his journey, don't forget to